can stretch it out in this wheelchair. Yeah, that's like those are tropical plants.
Sit up here? Just one name tag, it's up to you.
Well, they went through
Oh, yeah. Good, good.
He went to one of the fire and but he's got this name. Right. Linda's going to go to the meeting too. She does the
Yeah, that's Mason and Jared's dad. Lewiston.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the June meeting of the Town of Lewiston Planning Board. Please give a roll call, please.
Ed Baker. Here. William Conrad.
Here.
Mark Yellow. Here. Dennis Hannon. Kenneth Lilly.
Here.
Henry Sandonato.
Here.
William Kazak.
Here. Okay. Just want to, anyone want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the May meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
For a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And we have a motion to open the public hearing for Harco Realty, Sanborn Square, 2835 Somerville Road.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're gonna go to the public hearing portion of the meeting and have a sign-in sheet. And just in case you didn't have a chance to sign in, I'll turn it over to the audience after I get to the people on the list. Wayne Belina, is that how you pronounce that? Yeah. So you want to step to the mic, and for everyone, just please step up to the mic, introduce yourself, and just give us your address, please. Amen.
My name is Wayne Belina, and I live on Bridgman Road, 5745 Bridgman Road. I only have a few things. First of all, they reassessed all our homes, a lot. So here you are, you're building low-income homes, and in 5 years, I guarantee it's going to look like a dump. taxes are due to our value of our homes. They're gonna go down. So I mean, I'm not for it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Silvano, Rodrigo?
Votes no, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Good evening. My name is Silvano Barbarigo, and I live at 56 Downtown Line. A hop, a skip, and a jump from where this is proposed to be put on. And I guess I'm kind of opposed to it because I moved to Sanborn to have nice area, peace and quiet, about a nice chunk of land there. The last thing I want is somebody right in my backyard. A place like that in my backyard. Considering you folks just raised my assessment fourfold from 150 to 465,000. Now, as the man says, if that thing will bring down some of the values of the house, I'll be paying taxes on a house that I can't sell for that amount of money. I'm very opposed to that, considering there is a elementary school right across the street from where this is proposed. What kind of people are you gonna get in there? Sanborn has always been a very quiet farm town. And you people all of a sudden starting to change all that. Personally, I don't like it. And remember this, next election, I'll remember every one of you. Be warned. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth, is it Perry?
Yeah, it's good.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Terry. I live on 5791 Buffalo Street. I have a couple opinions and oppositions, but first I want to know if I could ask some questions to the developers, or is that for later?
That's for later.
Okay, so this is just an opinion piece? Or just open discussion, I
Open,
should say?
just want
Okay.
to speak your mind and.
Oh, we don't have time for that, but okay, thank you. Well, I agree with the previous gentleman that I don't think that this kind of development fits in this kind of area. And I'm not gonna get into the low income piece or the resident piece, but the bottom line is Sanborn can't support this kind of infrastructure. We are a small farming community. We just got sidewalks 10 years ago. That was a big deal. We have a small volunteer fire company that is doing its very best, but manpower is low. We have one grocery store, one Dollar General. We have elementary schools, but would they be able to support the amount of families that are gonna be at this facility? We don't have a bus line, we don't have transportation, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that something of this magnitude would be able to support it to succeed. Like he said, this is a small farming community, and no offense, but I just find it a little ironic that the people making this decision, it doesn't affect them personally at all. Does anybody here live in Sanborn? You do? Where?
Colin,
What's your name?
5180.
I'm just kidding, hi neighbor. But besides from you, sir, it does seem that like the majority of people, it wouldn't affect them as directly as it does you. Or I'm assuming many people here. So I think that's a big concern as well. I think this kind of infrastructure would be better in maybe even the village of Lewiston or somewhere closer with more resources and shops and transportation.
Thank you. Brian Winky?
Brian Winky, 2652 Sounder Settlement. Well, there's a bunch of things about this that really don't go well for me. Besides it being a low-income rental property, which in itself isn't necessarily bad, but let's be serious. Rental properties are not kept up. They just aren't. People that live there don't own them. They have no ownership of them. I have worked as a caseworker for 30 years in Niagara County. I have been in virtually every apartment building or housing complex from Sanborn west. I've seen them all in disrepair. HUD laws allow for people who are with disabilities to also be drug users or have a mental health problem. And when that happens, they're very, very free to come in there. We have a little place in Sanborn now off of Shank Street that's half empty. And the reason it's half empty is because those buildings are in disrepair. This is not a benefit to anyone, and it's going to hurt Sanborn greatly. It looks pretty on paper, but it's garbage, because that paper doesn't show what people do to their place. Hamburg won't even open for a year, they say, but already you see dumpsters that are overrun, people complaining about drugs in the area. It is a problem that cannot be legislated out. You encourage them to come in, people that don't own property but rent, and they aren't going to care about what happens to Sanborn. They aren't. You've got a problem with the bus line at NCCC and the crime that has come from that. You've got a problem with Walden Galleria, which is a multi-million-dollar facility, and the crime that comes with that. The problem is we cannot possibly understand the number of problems that are going to come from this. Not one housing complex I have ever seen has improved over time. If you want to improve your place, own your place. There's no reason why that property, if it's really suitable, environmentally safe, couldn't be used for apartments, or not apartments, excuse me, that was wrong, for homes that could be bought. You look at Tuscarora Road, they have a bunch of those modular homes that are owned. They don't have basements. They sit above ground. The people that own them keep them up because they own them. They care about what they've got. And when people rent, they just don't care. It's not even a negotiable topic. It is a simple fact. I have never once, ever, in my 30 years in the county, ever seen a rented property improved by the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you. John Chicano?
I thought I had the site for the open discussion. I have nothing right now. I wanted to talk. I thought I had the sign so that you could ask questions. Please.
Is there anything you want to say right now?
No. I'm good. Thank you.
Mike Hughes?
My name is Mike Hughes. I live at 6170 Ward Road. Both of my kids went to school with yours. Married and living here for 26 years. Putting this in here, I'm hoping one day maybe my kids will raise their families. Now with that, there's no way, Bill. And there goes another one. You're going to bring in low-income housing to a rural farming community. It's going to destroy it. I've been in this service. I've been all around the world. It will destroy it. Sanborn will never, ever be the same if that happens. Thank you.
Mike Townsend?
Good evening. 877 Scarlet Drive. I own two properties, one on 2765 Solomon Road, and the other one's at 5682 Solomon Road. My concerns are the water pressure. We already have low water pressure on Town Line Road, at 5682 Town Line Road. The water department was out there the other day. They got between 35 and 40 pounds of pressure. That's insufficient. I know the county can give us more. It's probably an easy fix. I talked to Bob Landon about it before. Last week, getting a pump out there somewhere on that system between Upper Mountain Road on the east end of the Tuscarora Nation or on Town Line Road somewhere. The other concern I have is the traffic. Pedestrian traffic is one thing. If you're gonna have to be forced to approve this subdivision, that they put sidewalks in. Make sure they run straight as an arrow, and put some street lights like on Buffalo Street on the same side as the sidewalk. So you can get a grant for those lighting and sidewalk. The other concern is the vehicle traffic. Trying to get out on Bridgman Road, from Bridgman Road onto 31, there's you're gonna be sitting there for 15, 20 minutes trying to get out certain times a day. If you're gonna put in another 60 units, you're gonna have to see about getting a traffic signal put in there. And, crosswalks. Sidewalk in front of Sanborn Elementary School was never completed. You walk down there in the summer, it's fine. That's if there's no, cars in the school. But they're in school, they're on the side of West Street. There's no sidewalk. And in the wintertime when they plow, there's nowhere to walk. People want to come up to these $2 Generals and pizzeria and so forth. The people that are going to be in the subdivision want to go to the library. They're going to be walking out the street around the school property because there's no sidewalk there. That needs to be addressed as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's the last person, or last name on my list. I want to open it up to the audience. Anyone who wants to speak, just step forward. Again, please give us your name and your address.
I'm Bonnie Bagwell, 5625 Bridgman Road, Sanborn. I was never contacted with any mail or anything, and a neighbor called me and said, what's going on? That was the first I heard of it this week. I agree with so many things that have been said before, mainly the school. We have the school itself with buses. We have the community, well, New York State University now over at the community college. And I used to work at Triflers a few years back. And getting from Bridgman Road, like 200 feet to Triflers, waiting for traffic during school hours when they're picking up buses and there's college kids coming back and forth. It's terrible. And I just don't see the need for anything in that area. Maybe put up another drugstore, who knows, but not anything that will put a lot of traffic on the road, because we have plenty right now. And I agree, it's a small town community, and we hope to keep it more like that. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Just step up.
Hello, my name is Emily Turtle, 5698 Town Line Road. I'm not a great public speaker, so I have to keep a little list of my points. I clearly agree with everything everybody prior to me has said. I grew up in Cambria, went to Star Point. I've lived out in these areas my whole entire life. We moved away, lived on Grand Island for 4.5 years, and when it came to buying a house, I'm like, hey, I grew up out here, it's beautiful. We have peace and quiet, we don't have much traffic, it's perfect. And up until recently, it's affordable. Couple points that when I got this letter, I didn't even know about the June 2nd meeting. I wasn't informed of that being a taxpayer. So I did some research on a number of levels, because everybody knows that locals know best about the area. I don't know how it's legal if they're able to build a complex on that property. Back in the 80s and 90s, there was a major gas spill from Cronin Garage, and anybody that's from the area knows that. If you take a look on New York State's DER website of spill incidents, it's cited there. And you also have the ability to cross-check the resources to see about spill remediation. There's nothing. But all of us as residents were told that it was cleaned up. That spill incident impacted the groundwater. So the idea and thought, first, yeah, you know how it impacts us as property owners and our resale value and all that. But now we're going to put people of limited income and special housing in a high-risk area. I think everybody knows what's happening with Niagara Falls right now, Love Canal being reopened, Cayuga Island and all that. So it's almost a lawsuit waiting to happen, especially for Park Road Realty. So unless somebody's paying to remediate that area the way that it would be to make it safe, that's another expense to tack on for them. Otherwise, at that point, you're subjecting vulnerable people to a health crisis if the groundwater is not cleaned up. Our area is full of farmers. Don't you think any farmer would have picked up that area? The Tricler family, the Hoovers, the Danielwitzes, real estate. Of course they're gonna grab it, but it's contaminated. Another concern of mine, I've worked in insurance and I've written insurance for 10 years. And like a lot of the other, lovely fellow people had mentioned, as far as property neglect, there's a reason why rental property insurance is significantly more than home insurance. And that's because of the risk, because of lack of homeownership pride. So they neglect the area. I didn't want to be ignorant as far as Park Road Realty goes, but I've also done my research on them as well. They're a Rochester-based company. They've been around less than 20 years. With that being the case, you look historically over their other properties that are built, and just like everybody else said, they're neglected. That's not going to look good on the town of Lewiston and our nice little community when we're already trying to attract more tourism for all the lovely shops down on Center Street in the village. It brings in a unfortunate community that, yes, it starts with a choice, but they're a victim to a system that they can't break. So between the neglect of maintenance, all the other locations, Walden, Hamburg, they're basically looking for an investment to make themselves richer and then turn away once the job's done. You look on Better Business Bureau ratings, it's not good. It's not good at all, and it doesn't look good on a prestigious board to pass something like that, even when the locals are trying to warn you against it. To tack on, like everybody else, that we don't have the infrastructure for it. Between sidewalks, between safety, a school for little elementary kids where a lot of people's kids attend school to, and then, graduate up to go to Niagara Wheatfield or go to Newport, or, maybe they go to Star Point or wherever, they may go. These kids can be impacted, and it's putting them in a vulnerable area. So there's a lot of numbering issues here. We have one small little pharmacy where anybody that goes there after work knows that the line is very long, and we're all patient with our pharmacists. Dollar General, Family Dollar, I don't know if you noticed, they're having to lock some things down. Our laundry detergent already from the college students has to have a tag on it where if you try to steal it, theft is already going up. So it's just a matter of time before it's not just these stores that are put here to help our community, but what about the local farms and the businesses? Hoover's already struggled with people returning their milk, glass milk bottles. So there's so much that adds to it. So I really ask and pray and hope that you consider this, because if it's not something that directly impacts you, it's going to impact your community, it's going to impact the generations to come. And if it's not clear, I'm incredibly opposed to it. So I appreciate it, so thank you very much.
Very good. Anyone else who'd like to speak? I'd like to speak. Sure, like this.
Hi, my name is Craig LaRock. I live at 5687 Bridgman Road. I oppose this. I oppose this being in my backyard. I've lived on Bridgman Road for over 50 years. I grew up there. I graduated from Niagara Wheatfield. I bought a house on Bridgman Road. I work for Niagara County. I know about water pressure. I have no water pressure. I know they're talking about building a pump station maybe somewhere in there to bring up water pressure. You still got to supply that pump station with water. I know about the sewer. We don't have sewers on Bridgman Road. We promised for 40 years we're going to get sewers. We still don't have a sewer system. I have leach beds. Crime. I don't want crime. I don't want people walking around. If we have to put in street lights, I can't even get off of Bridgman Road at certain times of the day, as other people have stated. Same with West Street. If we got to put in street signs or more street lights or any other infrastructure, that's going to raise our taxes. That's going to cost us taxpayers money to put in street lights, sidewalks. I know when you do have pump stations or sewer pump stations or anything like that, the town has to take care of them. I know people from Pendleton that work on all these grinder pumps in all their different apartment complexes and whatnot that cost the taxpayers money to keep these things up and going. Like other people have said, I mean, we have one store. I've lived in Sanborn my whole life. I didn't move to Niagara Falls. I don't want anybody bringing Niagara Falls to Sanborn. So that's the way I feel about it. I don't want my taxes to go up. You got 50 units. How many kids are going to be in these 50 units? A lot. Do you know what the budget for Niagara Wheatfield School went up to $96 million a year? It's over $26,000 per student to attend Niagara Wheatfield School District. If you bring in 50 families, even 20 families, even 50 kids, that's going to raise our school taxes, because none of these people in these apartments are going to be paying school taxes. Maybe the building owners might pay some, but that right there, I mean, if you have 50 kids going in there, that's $1 million right there. That's for when you break down the school budget. I don't want my school taxes going up. I don't want my property, I've already been reassessed, everybody's here's been reassessed. I don't want my town taxes going up. I don't want any of my taxes going up. And if we have to put in infrastructure for sewers, water, street lights, sidewalks, and then having all these people going over, I mean, West Street School, elementary, they're already overpacked with kids right now. It's just adding too much. I mean, my friend lives on West Street now, he can't even get out of his driveway because the cars, when they're picking kids up and whatnot, they're lined all the way up and down West Street. It's just gonna be too much. Yeah, it's just gonna be too much. You know, we like our town the way it is. We don't want it changed. We're the taxpayers. We're the ones that have invested in our homes. We just don't want it. There's only one beneficiary to this, and that's the people that are building it and selling it and making money off of it. None of us are going to benefit from it whatsoever. It's going to ruin Sanborn, like other people have said, and I don't want it.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak? Sure.
My name is Matthew Frangio. I live at 2878 Saunders Settlement Road, so pretty much right across the street from this. I agree with a lot of the points that I heard. The traffic's a big concern to me. It's already like a raceway straight across that road. And I'm imagining, putting another 50 units or whatever it is right there. I just have a concern with that. My kids get on the bus every morning. There's times when the cars, just like they do in the city, are trying to just pull around the bus, put my kids in danger. It's very frustrating. And I think about too, just I look at the lot across the street from me. I'm wondering, if this goes up, where does it end? Am I going to be looking at another complex or something across the street from me 5-10 years from now? And with the infrastructure, I agree with that too. Just, I know 3 years ago they dug a sewer pipe across the front of my property and said, you got to attach to that. You don't have a choice. Well, I'll say with that, just as a plumber professionally, priced it out. It's $20,000 for me to put a lift station in and connect to something like that. I know they're making people do that if there's accessible sewers, if they're gonna, sell their house or anything. So I can see, like, just with the tax assessment, with stuff like that going up there, it just seems like take, not a lot of give. And I'm just concerned. I want to build a life for my family out here, and I just don't want to see a change from this apartment community as it is. So that's all I have to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak? Anyone on the board? Comment? I'm going to ask the director. So you want to just stand up, and if you'd like to address any other concerns of the audience or any other.
Yeah, I think we'd like to provide a presentation again to the board, and then also I'd like to provide some feedback on our June 2nd meeting, which I think will cover a lot of the questions that came up.
Nice touch. Would the board be opposed to them turning the easels toward the audience? No. Okay.
They already seen it.
You want to switch marks so you can see it? I know, but it shows you.
Was a locker system, so you wouldn't even get, you wouldn't be able to move in.
You should just introduce yourself. Yeah. You can pull it out of there. Yeah.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Crilly. I'm with Park Road Realty. I'm joined with Alan Handelman, who's a colleague of mine, and Cole Overhoff, who's with Passo Associates. They are the civil engineer for the project. And what I'd like to do tonight is to provide an overview of the project again. And then, like I said earlier, I'd also like to discuss feedback from the June 2nd meeting that we held at the Sanborn Fire Hall. Before I jump back into the project, I just want to reiterate a little bit about what we do as a company, who we are, Park Grove Realty. We develop, own, and manage multifamily housing in upstate New York. We currently own and manage over 2,000 units. We have a very strong track record for delivering high-quality housing, managing high-quality housing in the communities we serve. Our founders have over 50 years combined experience in this space. At the end of the day, we are about making long-term investments in communities. The Sanborn Square development, as I think everyone knows, consists of 50 units, multifamily units, and a clubhouse and amenity space. I think it's important to note that the project as it's designed and laid out is consistent with the town of Lewiston's comprehensive plan and the zoning code. The town's comprehensive plan speaks to providing housing for a variety of age groups and income levels. It also discusses providing a variety of housing options, which multifamily housing would fit into. From a code standpoint, we're not requesting any variances. We're meeting the requirements of the special permit criteria outlined by the town. I've shared that in some of the materials with the town. Again, I'm going to turn it over to Cole in a minute to discuss the engineering. We've had some follow-up since our June 2nd meeting on some of these items. And then I'll turn it over to Alan Handelman to discuss the project. And then I will speak to some of the feedback on the June 2nd meeting that was held at the Sanborn Fire Hall.
Good evening, everyone. I guess if this is working. Oh, it is working now? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cole Overhoff with Passo Associates. We're the engineers for the project. Just to orient you to the site real quick, in case you weren't at the community outreach meeting, it's located at 2835 Saunders Sullivan Road, just north of the intersection with Buffalo Street. And we are proposing the construction of 5 10-unit apartment buildings for a total of 50 units and a 2,300 square foot clubhouse. Additional site improvements include 111 surface parking spaces, a playground, stormwater management areas, sidewalk for pedestrian connectivity throughout the site, and then proposed landscaping. So the site is located on a vacant 7.59 acre parcel within the general business district. And like as Tim said, we are not seeking any variances. This site layout complies with all aspects of the town code within the general business district. We meet the minimum 35-foot front yard setback requirement, the 30-foot side yard setback, and 50-foot rear yard setback. We are also completely preserving that existing wooded area to the west of the site. It is to act as a natural vegetated buffer between our property and the adjacent residential area. And the multifamily use is a permitted use in the town code through a special use permit, which we are which we are pursuing and meet the criteria for. To speak to traffic, because there are a lot of traffic concerns, obviously. We completed a traffic impact study that was submitted to the town planning board for their review. Based on the ITE trip generation manual, this project will generate 30 new trips during the morning peak hour and 31 new trips during the afternoon peak hour. And this report concluded that there will be no potentially significant adverse impacts to the traffic in the community. And the only recommendations that came from the report were that the restriping of Saunders Settlement Road to accommodate a new left turn lane into the site, as well as modifications to the existing signal at the intersection with Buffalo Street. We conducted a span wire analysis, and it was determined that the existing span wire has the capacity to hold the two new signal heads, and the existing signal heads would remain on the span wire untouched. We also submitted the plans to the DOT. They have given us their feedback and given us comments that were very minor. We already addressed those and sent the plans back to them for their review once again. In regards to sanitary, we've had discussions with the town engineer as to what the best approach would be for our sanitary sewer connection. And it was decided that we would utilize a private on-site pump station and about 450 linear feet of private force main that would exit the site, run parallel to Saunders Settlement Road within the right-of-way, and ultimately connect to the existing gravity sewer located at the intersection of Saunders Settlement Road and West Street. So a downstream capacity analysis is required to be reviewed by both the town engineer and Niagara County just to confirm that the existing sanitary sewer has the capacity to service this project at all. We are already arranging flow monitoring services, which is the first step, and we need that data so we can progress with the downstream capacity analysis. As for water, the town provided us with hydrant flow data that we incorporated into our WaterCAD model, and the existing water system can handle the domestic demands for this project. It was determined that during the fire scenario, when the sprinklers are going off and there's fire hydrants being used and the water demand is higher than the normal day-to-day, we noticed that the pressures do dip below the minimum required pressures. And this is a simple problem that we've seen frequently. The solution is to utilize a booster pump that would only be active during that high demand fire scenario, and then during the typical day-to-day, when when the sprinklers aren't going off and the hydrants aren't being used, that booster pump wouldn't be necessary. In regards to stormwater, we're utilizing bioretention areas and deep pools to meet all the New York State DEC water quality requirements. And then attenuation ponds and outlet control structures are to be used to make sure that the stormwater runoff discharging the site is reduced compared to the existing conditions. On April 23rd, we attended a pre-application meeting with key representatives from the town present. The project was well received, and they gave us some valuable feedback that we've incorporated into the design that you see today. One of their main concerns was the amount of parking spaces available, and as a result of that pre-application meeting, we added 7 additional parking spaces. So that brings us to a parking ratio of 2.2 parking spaces per unit, which surpasses the town code requirement of 2 spaces per unit. We also made sure that there are at least 2 ADA spaces in front of each building. And at the town's request, we added 1 more private fire hydrant. So now we have a total of 2 private fire hydrants on site about 300 feet apart. The town also requested that we confirm that the road layout meets all fire access requirements that are outlined by the New York State Fire Code, which it does. We also ran a vehicle turning analysis to make sure that a fire truck can maneuver the site. And then the last change to the plans that resulted from that pre-application meeting were for us to include the addition of a bus stop shelter at the entrance of the site, and for us to show the FTC locations on our utility plans. And then on May 18th, we presented before the Niagara County Planning Board meeting, where they provided no major concerns or comments to us. The motion to approve the referral passed unanimously. Then a few days later, we made on the 21st of May, we made our first planning board appearance, and we introduced the project. There was one minor comment where the town planning board requested we relocate an EV charging station. And I also recommend we contact the Postal Service to make sure that they will indeed service the site, which we did, and the Postal Service confirmed that the LaSalle location would be handling the mail to this address. Then on June 2nd, we had the community outreach meeting. We've received a lot of comments and questions that Tim will speak more to momentarily. But after the community outreach meeting, we did send the plans to the Sanborn Fire Chief, who reviewed in detail the site layout and had no additional concerns or comments to provide. And I did want to speak to the environmental aspect because I know that was a big concern as well. So a third-party consultant, Rue, conducted an environmental investigation in 2025, and it consisted of a series of test pits and soil samples, and they identified commercial fill generally across the site that contains non-native materials like arsenic and common metals that are very common to commercial fill. But this fill has some exceedances that we would need to take care of. A few areas were identified that will need, that will need 30-foot by 30-foot excavations. It was recommended that all areas on site that won't be hardscaped have a clean cap of topsoil or any materials that do not have exceedances. So this fill material is commercial fill that is very common to Western New York. It was determined that it was most likely used to grade the greenhouse site. The testing of the PID results showed no exceedances of petroleum, chlorinated PIDs, and no elevated VOCs, which is a great thing. The on-site petroleum was likely from on-site operations, Rue determined, and there was no contamination discovered based on the eastern property. With that, I'll hand it back over to Tim.
Thanks, Cole. From a building standpoint, what we're proposing here are 5 10-unit buildings in a clubhouse area. The buildings are townhome style buildings. We thought for the town of Lewiston and the hamlet of Sanborn that this sort of design would fit very well. It's an architecturally distinguished building. It has the appropriate scale, being a 2-story building, pitched roofs, there's shake siding, stone water tables, and porches and balconies. It's high quality finishes at the end of the day. These images shown here are the product that we ended up completing in Hamburg, New York. As Cole mentioned earlier, the site will also be very well landscaped with plantings and trees and both flowers. If anyone had the chance to visit the Hamburg site, which I recommend, you'll see that the site is very well landscaped. The interiors of the units are very high quality as well. There's stainless steel appliances, soft close cabinetry, LVT flooring. In the clubhouse, we'll have 2 full-time two management offices. We'll also have a great room and community space, a fitness center, and laundry facility. From a management standpoint, and I'm going to get into management in a little bit after I have Alan speak, because I think it's important. We will have 2 full-time on-site staff, professionally trained staff, and they will also be supported by regional leadership and corporate leadership. We feel very strongly that full-time professional staff ensure a well-maintained, well-supervised property. We strive to do this at all of our properties. I believe we have. Again, Hamburg, Riley Brook Apartments is a great example of that. So on site there will also be a playground as well, and adequate green space. And like I said, I'll speak a little bit more to the management in the June 2nd component, but I'll turn it over to Alan just to discuss a little bit more about the housing component.
Alan Gendelman. I work at Park Road. As mentioned, Sanborn Square is a workforce housing project here for families and individuals with incomes up to 60% of the area median income. This is adjusted for family size. In Erie and Niagara County, the median income is about 100,000. And the census tracts in and around Sanborn, the median income is closer to 85,000. So initially, a prospective resident can earn between $42,000 and $65,000 a year. That's adjusted for family size. This works well for households at the beginning and the end of their economic life cycle. Young families with children, recent college grads, and seniors. You find that seniors prefer to live, many seniors prefer to live in the community with all age groups. The rent increases for the current residents are limited. This ensures continued affordability. The housing market is tight. Much of the new housing in the area is single-family homes with limited options for high-quality rental housing. This is especially true in the eastern portions of the town of Lewiston. Sanborn Square will provide rents below market and even more so for new and modern apartments. Sanborn Square will be affordable to employees at the new Amazon facility and many of the employees, the staff and support staff for SUNY Niagara and the Niagara Retail School. We find that many of the residents in our communities come from the area. So this will provide an opportunity for people within the community and families to stay here, given some of the limited rental options and housing options. Thank you.
And lastly, I'm just going to speak to the June 2nd community meeting we held at the Sanborn Fire Hall. The meeting was well attended. There were a variety of questions that came up. Our goal of the meeting at the end of the day was providing the community with a better understanding of the project and answering the questions to the best extent that we could. As some questions came about, we didn't have all the answers, and I'd like to take this time to provide some feedback on those responses. First and foremost, I just want to hit on our professional management staff because I think that's very important and something we pride ourselves on at the end of the day. As I discussed before, we'll have 2 full-time on-site staff supported by regional and corporate management. At the end of the day, our goal is to maintain a clean, safe, and really a home for people to live at the end of the day. We've developed a strong reputation for high-quality housing in the communities that we serve. At the end of the day, we want to be good neighbors. We want to have good tenants as well. One of the questions that was asked was explain some more background on the demographics at Riley Brook Apartments in Hamburg, who lives there, occupations and whatnot. And to Alan's point earlier, the Hamburg Riley Brook Apartments is similar in architectural design, and it is also workforce housing. So I'm just going to go through some of this information here. Current resident ages at Riley Brook Apartments, approximately 55% of the residents are between the ages of 20 and 35. 20% of the residents are between the ages of 36 and 54. And 25% of the residents are 55 and older. Residents work in a variety of occupations. They include certified nursing assistants, warehouse employees, school aides, hospital technicians, receptionists, bus drivers, restaurant, and food service employees. More than 70% of the tenants that currently reside at Riley Brook previously resided in the town of Hamburg, demonstrating that affordable housing, workforce housing, primarily serves local residents and members of the community. Questions were also asked regarding student eligibility. Full-time students that are single households that earn income do not qualify for housing. Typically, any student does not qualify for this type of housing. There was questions also raised on the lottery process, the resident selection process. At the end of the day, a lottery is required by New York State for the funding for this project. The purpose of the lottery at the end of the day is to provide a fair and random method for determining which applications are vetted first. It simply determines what order in which applications are vetted. Being selected through the lottery does not guarantee residency by any means. Applicants must still successfully complete full application, income verification, and all eligibility screening. In Hamburg, only 20% of the households that went through the lottery were ultimately approved. The remaining 80%, more than 80%, were reviewed and approved on a first-come, first-served basis. Questions were raised regarding resident screening and community standards. I think it's important to note that we are selective in our application process of residents, and we want good residents living at our communities. At the end of the day, it's in our best interest. At the same time, we need to adhere to New York State Fair Housing Law. We maintain a thorough screening process for our residents, and it's designed to promote a safe, respected, and well-maintained community. All applicants undergo background screening, criminal history reviews, income verification, program eligibility certification, and also land board references. Applications with certain criminal convictions, including felony offenses, registered sex offenders, offenses that involve danger to persons or property, may be denied residency in accordance with our screening process. Approval for residency is not automatic. It's subject to successful completion and screening of the tenant. I think it's also important to note that we have community rules and regulations written into our leases that are strictly enforced. Illegal drug activity, criminal conduct of any nature is strictly not tolerated and results in lease violations, including evictions. We also have full-time security systems and access controls. In addition, apartments are inspected on an annual basis to ensure that they are kept up to standards. There's no safety problems for when any potential life safety matters happen. In the event that an inspection is not up to code, lease violations will be enforced. Questions were raised regarding residency and identification requirements during the screening process. All applicants must provide documentation verifying identity and eligibility for residency. As part of the application process, applicants are required to provide at least 2 forms of valid identification. This may include driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, or other approved government-issued documentation. There are questions raised regarding vouchers, Section 8 vouchers, and whether we could deny a resident solely because they have a voucher and come to us. Under New York State law, housing providers may not deny an applicant solely because they receive rental assistance through a housing choice voucher. The resident must still complete the same application process, screening, and eligibility requirements. It's important to note that these vouchers are accepted in New York State at both market rate and workforce housing projects. Park Grove has projects, market rate projects, that we accept vouchers and have tenants living with think it's important to note that this is not government owned and operated. This is owned and operated by ourselves and third-party investors. Projects that are owned and operated by the government are referred to as public housing. They are typically underfunded, poor managed, and not maintained well. That's not what you're getting here. I would ask residents, or I ask people to visit Riley Brook Apartments to see the high quality of finish in both the apartment buildings and also the grounds. Questions were raised regarding impact on fire and police services. Again, I want to reiterate that a fully staffed site with 2 full-time professional managers significantly reduce the burden of fire and police services. On-site staff are trained to handle resident complaints, parking issues, noise violations. Any violations of the community rules, as I discussed earlier, will be strictly enforced and resolved in evictions. A third party, from a fire standpoint, a third party company will monitor fire alarms using a rapid response system. This system notifies the fire department. This system notifies management before the fire department in the event there are false alarms. Smoke detectors are not hardwired to call the fire department, reducing unnecessary emergency calls.
And you work 8 to 4? Or are they overnight? I'm just asking.
Fair question.
They're 8 to 5 and they're on call.
Excuse me, we're gonna keep the questions till after the presentation's done, and then we'll readdress the audience concern. Okay, thank you.
I think at the end of the day, we understand that these new developments raise questions, and we welcome the opportunity to provide accurate responses. I try to do that in this following presentation. We want to provide high quality housing to individuals and families. That's our goal at the end of the day. We manage and maintain and take that very seriously over the long-term investment that we hold with these. Our experience has shown that professionally managed affordable housing is a valuable community asset at the end of the day. So I thank everyone for their time, and that's it from a presentation standpoint.
I'm gonna just ask the board quickly if there's any comments or questions from the board.
Yeah, I have a question. You build and you maintain these, you said?
Correct.
Do you ever turn them over and sell them to another party who may not have the same idea that you have as far as maintaining?
Our model is to develop, own, and manage for the long term. So property like this is over 15, 20 years we would hold.
I mean, these pictures look very nice. I'm sure when it's done, it'll look like that. Do you have pictures of some of the ones that you built maybe 20 years ago? Yeah, and what do they look like?
And where are they located? I'd like to see one.
Actually.
Okay.
It'll look good.
We haven't built anything within the last 20 years.
Well, what was the earliest one that you built?
Yeah,
Not the latest one,
yeah.
the earliest.
It's probably 10 years.
Okay.
And I could share that with the board.
Okay, and you have like current photographs of the grounds and
I don't have them on me right now, but
and pictures of the inside of the apartments and how they're kept up to that. We have that.
not,
can get that.
Not with me. I can provide that as a follow-up to the board.
The 2 professionals that you said that would be on staff, what would their hours be? 5 PM?
Yes.
So like 9 to 5, will there be any presence of management there on the overnight hours?
No.
No?
No, we do keep the staff there on call, in overtime hours, but typically, they won't be present.
If there's issues with parking spaces and tenants issues, how do they usually handle those? As far as making sure people follow the rules? You said there's a professional staff, so they wouldn't have to have the police involved. How would they handle these typical situations that may come up?
Yeah, I mean, they typically, from a parking standpoint, they typically, would borderline conflict resolution that they would use with these, with the residents.
Would it be, is it permitted parking? In other words, every apartment gets 2 spaces and you have a permit that it's, Sanborn Square?
There's not assigned spaces.
I mean, is it permitted? In other words, they'll have a sticker on their car that says Sanborn Square resident?
We have
a parking there.
Yeah.
So that friends visiting, don't have permits and take up parking spaces that other tenants might not be able to use.
We have done that at certain properties. We weren't envisioning doing that here. However, we can.
Especially with the former NCCC, assuming that's one of my concerns is. Okay.
We can certainly include that in our plan.
Did you mention that there won't be students allowed?
Students aren't eligible.
They're not eligible.
Please, in the audience, if we just keep the comments at the microphone and that, so we can hear what's going on. Keep it civil.
So there's no laws, no New York State laws that would prohibit you from denying a college student from living there?
There are, the qualification is a single dependent student cannot live at these facilities, at these developments.
Did your firm ever have to evict any tenants?
We have.
No.
What's the qualifications of your staff?
In terms of certifications? Yeah. I don't have all of them, but I can provide that follow-up to the board.
So will they be there for the length of your ownership? I mean, this isn't like
Yes.
for 3 years and then.
No.
The rental rates, what would they be? If you could explain that, I think he was down and discussed that, but I couldn't really hear all of it. Could you go over that again?
Yeah,
how that works?
The rental rates range from $575 to $1,575, depending on the bedroom.
$1,575 would be the lowest.
$1,575 would be the highest.
Would be the highest. I'm sorry, 575
Yeah.
would be the lowest.
Yeah.
That seems pretty low.
They're based on AMI levels. They're set at
AMI is market index.
correct. Yeah. And I can provide, Council Member Lilly, I can provide some follow-up on the conflict resolution. I can get information from our staff on that, just so it's clear.
I think you mentioned something, the income would be 42 to 65,000 of income.
Yes.
If I could switch to traffic, I think you mentioned striping. Will there be any need, did the DOT come up with any need for a traffic signal at any place along Route 31?
Yeah.
Perhaps more so at Bridgman Road, that seems to be a concern as well.
I can have polls speak to traffic.
So no, neither the DOT nor the traffic impact study that was conducted had any recommendations for any new signals aside from
the addition of 2 new single heads to the existing span wire to service the site. And that was the only recommendation then, as far as the striping goes, just the restriping of Sauter Sullivan Road to accommodate a left turn lane. The DOT's provided their comments, and there was no concern. There was no decrease in level of service of the surrounding community if you look at the TIS.
You can't get out of West Street and Bridgeville.
There's 2,000 units. Oh, sorry. And so this is, 150. So essentially you have 10 of these other types of projects somewhere. Is that correct?
What was the question? Sorry.
So you have you said in your discussion you have 2,000 units.
This is only
no, not this one. I'm saying in total. And so I'm just wondering. So you have 10 other properties
Under your ownership.
In your ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
I off the top of my head, I don't have.
And they've all been built in the last 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. You purchased ones that were already pre-built, or these are all,
I'd say a majority of them were ground up construction.
Okay.
There's a concern with water pressure, and maybe this question would go more to the town engineer. What are in fact, the water pressure issues in the Sanborn area?
I can't say specifically what they are, but they did mention that to accommodate fire flows and the higher level flows would be a booster pump station, which would be similar to what we would put in a distribution system if it was necessary.
Okay. So right now, there is no water pressure issues, but if this project goes in, there'll be a booster installed?
Be a booster station to accommodate the increased fire flows, as I understand it from the engineer.
And this would meet all the residents' water pressure needs at any point during the day?
It's not changing that.
In an emergency.
It wouldn't.
I have no water pressure.
Neither do I.
No, but
Please, we will talk, some residents
Step
seem
to
to
the
be,
mic, we'll hear everything you need to say.
some residents seem to be concerned that they don't have water pressure in their house.
I'm not aware of that, other than just hearing it from this evening.
Okay. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot,
No,
I'm just
I
trying,
understand.
I mean, people stand up and say things, they make a nice, the residents have made a nice presentation, and so has the developer, so we're trying to get, really zero in on what's accurate, is what I'm trying to get, so, and which we're bringing to the fire inspector, you've looked over this, the developer says there's no issues, is that in fact true?
At this point, I don't believe there's an issue. But again, we're going to have to receive reports from the sprinkler company and the alarm systems, all that stuff is going in to review. And that documentation will show if there's an issue or not an issue. If there is an issue, we'll have to find a way around it or not
Solution.
continue.
So to date, you don't see an issue, but it's a work in progress.
At this point, no.
Questions or comments from the board?
Okay, good for now, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna open it back up to the floor. We put the microphone back on the stand and move the microphone back. And then, yeah, and he also moves the presentation boards to the sides.
Yeah.
Just take them down?
I'm always ready to go, sir.
Take them down? Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
Hi, guys.
Just reintroduce yourself just for the record so that we know.
I'm Elizabeth Perry again. Hello. I live on Buffalo Street, right by the fire hall. Hello. I have a couple, you've mentioned some things, and I wanted to note on them. So you keep comparing us, or this project, to the Rising Brook Apartments in Hamburg. And I think what a lot of people have brought up, concern-wise, infrastructure, resources. What is the population of Hamburg?
The number or the?
Like, what is the population of the town of Hamburg, where Riley Brook currently resides? Riley Brook Apartments is in the town of Hamburg.
Yes.
What is the population of the town of Hamburg? It's 60,000. The population of Sanborn is 1,400. That is, we're comparing apples to oranges, sir. Again, we do not have the size to accommodate what you are proposing. Oh, I had another really good one, I'm getting nervous. Oh, I have it. I asked you on the June 2nd meeting, the rents for Camber. What are the ranges for the rents at the Riley Brook? It's $730 to begin. The Sanborn Square apartments, as you said, would start at $575. Vastly different rent starts are from $730 to $575, which would entail different residents, different kind of population. Apples to oranges, sir. Again, just to reiterate, clearly, it's clear to anyone listening to me, I'm also opposed to this. Again, because it's not logical. It's not logical. You are looking to build your portfolio, build your wealth. 100% applaud that. Find a town or city that can support it. 1,400 people with a Dollar General and a Valero, we can't support it. We don't need the housing to house the teachers of SUNY Niagara. They have houses. We don't need the housing to support the teachers of Niagara. Half of them don't live here. We don't need it. This property has been trying to be sold for years. It's not a secret to anyone who lives in Sanborn. The current owners have been trying to sell this property for probably a good 10, 20 years. It hasn't been sold for a reason. You said you did environmental testing? You said a phase 2? Okay.
Right, man, just for everyone, just please address the board.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Well, I'll do that too.
She was looking for answers.
I understand that, sir.
I wasn't
Just
trying to be
keep
disrespectful,
it-
sir.
Just trying to keep it civil and trying to keep it.
I wasn't trying to not be
I
civil,
understand.
and I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I'm just asking the
Absolutely.
people who would have the answer, so I apologize. I wasn't trying to be aggressive or abrasive. But the facts still lie. Hamburg is very different than Sanborn. The size, the amenities, everything about it. You mentioned a bus stop. Sorry. You mentioned a bus stop. So does that mean that the busway system or the NFTA or whoever that controls that, I don't know, would then start rerouting to use a bus route in Sanborn? Because we currently don't have one. We have in and out from SUNY to the Falls. So they said that they build a bus shelter, I can't think of the word, a bus shelter, but for what bus? We don't have enough areas, which brings another thought. If you need to build a bus shelter, which means a lot of people need to have transportation, meaning some people wouldn't have vehicles, meaning they probably have to live in an area that would have resources like jobs. Again, not that kind of place. We don't have the growth. We don't have a multitude of jobs. You mentioned the Amazon facility. There's a really nice lot across the street from there.
Yeah.
That's 5 minutes from Niagara Falls and a bus route. Again, not trying to be combative, just stating facts. I have more, but I'll be back.
Anyone else in the audience who'd like to step to the microphone and speak? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Conrad. My concern, if you show me on the map, the snow plowing, the snow removal, you got all sorts of parking spots. Where are you gonna put the snow? All the blacktop is used up for cars, and then the buildings are close to the road. What is the plan for the snow removal? And is it a private snow removal, or is the town removing the snow? So the buses and the fire trucks aren't going into here, they're not gonna go in and turn around, ambulances. There's no turnarounds in there at all. That's another concern. The water, is that gonna be a meter out at the road? Or is there not gonna be a meter? Is there gonna be meters in each building? Will there be a hot box? It will be out at the road.
I believe there was a hot box, correct? That I do.
So you have to keep in mind, if you're gonna put sidewalks in there, don't put it out there. Keep it away from the sidewalk. Like I say, the sidewalks should go in first. all the way from town line, really from the college entrance on town line, all the way down, so kids, when they walk down, they're not walking in the road to get to the pizzeria, the Dollar General, and the Family Dollar, etc. And anybody else in the community wants to use those, put those sewers, you're gonna put sewers and put them in first, then your sidewalks. So if the sidewalks are going straight in, and you're not zigging and zagging around street signs and everything else like on Buffalo Street. That wasn't laid out properly at all. Same way with the street light along the sidewalk. How long can this company own this property before they can sell it? Federal requirements, probably 10, 20 years. And then what? Then they can do anything they want to do. There's no regulations. Is that correct?
I'll have them answer that after.
Okay.
Just, are you prepared to answer questions after?
Yes, that was our intention.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Now for the town, they're saying the DOT's not requiring any traffic signal at Bridgman Road. What is the procedure for the town? Can the town petition and take care of that separate from this subdivision going in? If it's not their responsibility, if it passed everything, did they do a study? Did they do it when the school's coming out and there's all sorts of traffic? Because regardless of what the DOT says, there needs to be a traffic signal there. Do we need to go to Albany? What do we need? What is the procedure to get a traffic signal at that intersection?
DOT request to DOT.
By the town.
By the town.
And what do we have to do? Do we have to get up that petition to do that so you guys can do that, or can you do it on our request tonight? Do we need to formally get 500 people to sign a petition? What do we need to do?
That'll be something you have to take up with the town board, and I can certainly bring it to them.
Okay, great. I think that's all I got. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rob Hoover, Chief Sanborn Fire. As I stated at our meeting that we had a week or two ago, sort of lost track of time. You know, I'm trying to remain neutral in this because regardless of which way this goes, I have to deal with the aftermath. And I guess some of the things, you know, coming up, we talked about water. Yeah, we're better than what we were, you know, when they put our water lines in, was it 10, 12 years ago, or where we should be? No, I mean, our water fluctuates. You know, we get into May, you know, our water pressures do drop. I'm dealing with the county and another town on some water issues. One of the things I think that the planning board, or I mean, the town really has to look at too, as far as water. You know, 2 years ago, we had some meetings with Tuscarora Nation, and with them putting water onto the reservation. And there was a federal money, federal project. But where's it coming from? It's coming from Walmore Road, right? That's where our water is coming from. You know, coming from the county down Walmore Road, down 31. So, you know, that's going to have some effect. Every time we start adding things, you know, it's going to affect something else. You know, the county's actually taken some of the water pressures down just because there's infrastructure that hasn't been replaced or needs to be replaced, and you know they've had different breakages. And not so much in Lewiston. I know we've had issues up in another fire district in Colonial Village. There's water issues just because of infrastructure. But you know, it all has to be taken into account. You know, you put this here, and you know, like I said the last meeting, we're not sitting at the station waiting for a call to come out. I don't think there's one volunteer fire company in the county that's sitting like they were, you know, 20 years ago. you know, we're dealing with more calls with less people. You know, is this going to be bringing me 50 new calls a year? Hopefully not. You know, the dorms, they threw that on my lap. That's probably giving me 100 calls a year, you know, different situation. But it still does have an impact on us, you know, that we you know, volunteer. But just getting back to the water, it's a big picture. It's not just looking at this and how it's going to affect different things. The last meeting I had a resident from Town Line Road about his water pressure. Now I'm hearing about Bridgman. You know, we do get out, we start pumping, you know, start running the hydrants and just seeing where we're sitting, you know, as far as the water flows and what we can feed. And I get fluctuations all over the place, and it depends, you know. I mean, this year we've had some, you know, people aren't probably watering their grass and irrigating and things like they would on a dry year. And we can surely tell once we hit into a hydrant, and you know, it all adds together. But you know, we really have to be looking at the big picture and what else is going on with our water system, and you know, making sure that we do have sufficient you know, water, not just for, you know, today, but for years down the road. So it's as far as, you know, our concerns. I mean, we train for whatever we do. Yeah, whatever gets, you know, whatever is given to us, we in turn have to train. We have to try to prepare our people. We depend on other fire companies for help, just like everyone. You know, they rely on us, and we do the same thing. But it does. I wouldn't say that it's getting any easier. You know, you start throwing solar. You know, now you're talking battery storage, all that stuff. So there's a whole bunch of other things that are getting thrown onto our plate. From a volunteer standpoint, it's almost like a damn near a full-time job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just
I was
reintroduce yourself.
wondering what the capacity.
Sorry, just reintroduce yourself. So
I'm sorry.
your name again. Your name.
Silvano Barbarico. I was wondering what the capacity of this complex will be.
What type of capacity, sir?
How many people are going to be living there?
There's 150, correct? Or we don't know the number of people.
50 units.
50 units.
So on average, they're 2-bedroom units. So
How many?
On average, they're 2-bedroom units.
Right.
Say 100 people.
100 people. Now, we just got 41 houses put in between Lockport Road and Hoover Road. 41 houses. Look at how many people that came in and lived there. Now you got them, and now you're gonna have another 150 people or more. We already got a standing line at CVS. We already got a standing line at Tops. Where are you gonna put all these people around there? We're gonna be doubling them, you know? It's just too much. At the end of the day, you should bring us somewhere else, or that's all.
Anyone else in the audience?
Yeah, girl.
See, you like this public speaking.
I do. Hello, I'm Lynn Turtle again, Town Line Road 5698. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things, piggybacking off of my fellow lovely neighbors. So when it comes down as far as the infrastructure, and we saying that we don't have it, you know, in Sanborn for what this community might need, not just from bus routes that we were talking. A lot of people that are low income rely on Medicabs. There could be people that could struggle and need some form of addiction recovery services, medical doctors, all of that, well-nows, urgent cares. Sanborn clearly doesn't have that. Village of Lewiston does, Sanborn does not. So not only are they lacking there, on top of it, to touch on them saying, New York Fair Housing Act, they can't, just reject certain applications because they get HUD or Section 8 or stuff like that. Kind of the point I brought earlier when it came to the land and the contamination and the tests that were done. Again, on New York State's website, you can look up underground storage tanks. You can look up areas and sites, New York's full of them, of fuel tanks that may not be active but still have, everything in them still. Correct. Cronin Garage still very much has an active tank, whether it's underground or if it's still the one in the back. And under HUD guidance says sites known or suspected to be contaminated by toxic chemicals or radioactive materials include but are not limited to 1. Listed on EPA Superfund National Priorities or CERCLA list or equivalent state list, which that's not it. 2. Located within 3,000 feet of a toxic solid waste landfill site. We know the Falls is farther, and we know, Modern's over here, so that's not it. But 3, with an underground storage tank. This still very much still has those tanks. So if you already know they can't discriminate through the New York, Fair Housing Act, right there that could be violating HUD unless all of that is remediated. A lot more tests would have to be completed. Deconstruction of that property would have to be removed. Take out all of the dirty fill and replace it with all brand new clean fill. And when it comes down to it, I feel like anybody knows retention ponds. They use a lot of different words for them, but that's what these pretty ponds are. These retention ponds are known historically to be contaminated, to have sitting water, to have pumps break. And how many maintenance people are able to be there to routinely maintain these grinders, these pumps, these filters, all of this? We know of 2 maintenance staffs that'll, be there, from 8 to 5, something along those lines. The other part, they say 100 people minimally, so we have 100 some odd spots, but in the traffic study that was conducted, it was on average, I think they said 31 cars at these times. Yep. What about visitors, families, overnights? I know from having so many people at, the dorms, you're allowed to have visitors that'll stay overnight, and even the dorms can have, struggles with their parking over there. Because visitors, families, a lot of people know that just because it's a 2-bedroom unit doesn't mean it's just 2 people living there. How many kids will double up in rooms? So from a traffic standpoint, that just, I don't know how those numbers were conducted as accurate, maybe in the upstart, but things grow. When it comes down to something else that, I'm sorry, Tim and Alan, right? As Tim and Alan were saying, when it comes to the intent as to what these projects are meant to help with as far as local businesses, stuff like that. We mentioned SUNY Niagara, we mentioned Niagara Wayfield, and then Amazon. With the income cap that they have, with it being workforce housing, your average employee at SUNY Niagara makes about $68,315. They're out. Niagara Wayfield staff, on average, it says about $78,626. Is that everybody? No, but half of them don't even live here. The ones that it would really resonate would be the Amazon employees. And a bulk of the Amazon employees are also from Niagara Falls. So the amount of not good diversification, this isn't me saying that people that struggle don't deserve a fair chance in a nice neighborhood. But I don't know how many times we can drill the point that we don't have the infrastructure, the means, nor the legal obligation or ability to be able to do it from a sanitary standpoint. Everything with HUD requirements. So yeah, that's pretty much I got on that, so thank you very much.
My name's Wayne Molina. For 19 years, I've called John Robert Manlow. He's retired now, but he worked for the water department. I used to bust his balls once a month for 19 years. Turn the water pressure up. And he used to laugh at me and tell me, listen, if I turn the water pressure up, all we're going to do is blow water mains. So he told me the infrastructure isn't there to turn the water pressure up. My water pressure is only 40 pounds. I had to put a booster pump in, because if my wife was, you couldn't take 2 showers at the same time. I mean, the water pressure on bridges is terrible, and I imagine everybody else has got the same.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bonnie Bagwell again. I have 2 questions for these gentlemen. Number 1, how deep to the north does this property go? I've tried reading the little drawing and the type is like teeny tiny. So to the north of Somerset. And the other question, how much hardscape is there? Does it cover like more than half the property so that there's not much drainage going on there? It's all to the side and back into the fields. That's all about the hardscape itself. Thank you.
My name is Roger Twinkler, and I run the Twinkler's Flower Shop, which runs along the north side of this event. And we rent about 30 acres of prime farmland back there, and we have for a long time. Now, for the longest time, there's been an easement that has allowed the farmers to bring their farm equipment there to do what has to be done, whether it's working the ground or harvesting the crops or whatever they do. And they've had this for a long time to be able to go through, and I think that goes through where this is presented to be. And I'd like to know how that problem is going to be solved so that we can continue to rent this property. The people that rent it are very happy with it. And we've got to be able to get to it somehow. The other thing is I'm a little curious as to the perimeter of this proposal. Is there trees, shrubs, fences? What goes on to the west side, the north side, the south side? What? I mean, the south side is the street, but they got the east, north, and west. What do you do with that? Is what I'd like to know. Is it just going to be open so anybody that lives there can run back through the farmer's field or woods or whatever's back there? I'd like to see a little bit of issues for slowing it down. And from my personal opinion, I agree with what everybody else has said here concerning the issues in our community. I mean, our family has lived there for 150 years, and we've had very good rapport with the community. And I also have to mention that I cannot believe, irregardless what all the professionals have to say about the soil on that property. I have gone back and forth with that greenhouse, and I'm 80-some years old, and I have seen what has gone on in that greenhouse, the chemicals that were used and the fertilizers that were used and all of that. And it wasn't just for 5 or 10 minutes. That place was in operation growing flowers for at least 125 years. And I cannot believe the place is clean. But like I say, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've grown up there. I've done all kinds of things on our property. I've run my business. And at this point, I can't grow anymore because I'm sitting down. But I'm just concerned with all of the things that the people have brought up. And water pressure was one of our major issues. I had to have a giant 5-stage pump to get enough water pressure to feed the automatic water systems that we had to have through 20,000 square feet of growing area. It's just part of the deal. I'm not questioning all of that because I don't really understand it. I just know what I had to do to make it work. And I just don't see adding a whole lot to our community, and I'm kind of concerned with the level of the people that will end up being there. And from the sounds of what it costs to rent there, My wife has 3 or 4 houses, and I know what she charges for rent. And, that's a pretty good deal for people, regardless of what level they are. So, I'm against it, 100%. I have my reasons. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to?
Yeah, just do it. So bottle Margarito. Just to reiterate on what my friend Roger just said. When the greenhouses, when the Flens purchased that property, my friend Freddie Shear was asked to see how to remove them. And at that point, the inside of all those greenhouses was all asbestos. Well, I don't know if you folks remember, but there was an issue about that because one night, the son of Mr. Wentz, drunk up a little bit, he wiped them all out with a bulldozer, and there was an issue with the DEC coming out and check it out, but nothing was ever done. All that glass and all that asbestos may very well be all in there. Minus whatever drifts it over to our houses. So, for that point, I have to say that Roger is correct. I don't know that you folks really know what's in that lot. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Brian Linky at 2652 Slaughter Summit. Back up what the gentleman just said, that's true. All those greenhouses were raised. The place is full of shards of glass. Anyone who's ever worked in a greenhouse knows that most heat pipes are insulated with asbestos. I don't know specifically about those greenhouses, but I know for a fact that that building was raised without any regard to anything. You could just see the glass sparkling in the ground the next day after those things were raised, for a fact. No question about it. With regard to their 2 staff working 8 to 5 or 8:30 to 5, I don't know about you, but most gatherings or parties or kids' deals don't usually happen between 8 and 5 most days of the week. There are evening parties or weekend parties. They have no staff. If something goes wrong, they don't have a chance to meet it. They're on call. On call doesn't do it darn bit good if it's an emergency call. If somebody's got to come out, it's going to be the fire department. It's going to be the town police. It's not going to be one of their staff that have to rouse themselves out of home and get there. It's just not going to happen. I asked before on June 2nd about citizenship, and again, they kept asking around that. They say, well, we need identification. Well, 2 forms of identification can be gotten on any welfare application if you apply. You can get your voter registration, you can get a water bill, you can do any number of things that will come up almost instantaneously with any application in social services. And New York state law does not require a person to be a United States citizen to get that identification. So they're saying that they're going to get ID does not mean a thing with regard to who's moving in there, not even a little bit. So honestly, I don't see how it can be justified in saying that the people are going to take care of it, they're going to supervise it, or going to maintain squabbles or control them or whatever. It's not going to happen. And they told us before the number of 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedroom units. They should have those numbers at their fingertips right now and tell us exactly how many people or how many units are going to be there. And they aren't necessarily single occupancy bedrooms, at least as far as I know. And they should be able to give us addresses right now of their other properties. What person doesn't know how many, or the name of the addresses of their properties? It doesn't make sense. They also claimed June 2nd that they weren't going to expand to the west. But if you look at this diagram here, the retention ponds are either up front or in the middle. The lowlands in the back have no retention ponds. There's a building on the right end of the lot where the last row of parking is. There's actually nothing on the left side going west that's completely open. They have put nothing in the way to add on at their leisure. They got to say they are today, but who knows what they're going to do? Because there's a room for it and it's accessible. They didn't put anything in the way to make that not possible. So I don't see why they're coming across as some altruistic, honest company. At this point, they're dancing around issues that people brought up on June 2nd, and they have not addressed them satisfactorily.
I'm sorry, just one more time, if that's okay. Liz Perry, Buffalo Street, I'm sorry. I have a couple questions. Can I just ask the question outright? What is the process of this? Was it approved? Is this approved to build this, right? No, that's what this is part of, right?
This is all part of the process.
Okay, I just wanted to clear the air because Phil was weighing on me, I was worried. So I wanted to touch back on what everyone was saying, all the points, and that we keep getting compared to, you know, the gentleman keeps saying, please check out Riley Brook, compare us to Riley Brook. So I did do that, I researched a little, and this is not in any way trying to be biased or turn anyone's opinion. I did what they told me to do, and I researched Riley Brook. And this is there are many, many lovely reviews. A lot of people do comment on the finishes and you know, things like that, but this is one from 3 months ago, so it touches on a lot of concerns that people have brought up. Again, I'm just going to read it verbatim. I'm not verbatim. I'm not exaggerating or trying to sway anybody. I give them a 0 if I could. Worst place I've ever lived. Lots of drug and police presence, and this is how residents throw their garbage out. It's overflow dumpster. I've complained over the past year and nothing changes. Non-existent snow removal, which was a concern someone brought up. People stay here while not being on the lease, a concern someone brought up. Nothing is ever done, and they won't cancel my lease even though I complain all the time. Run away from this complex. Well, this is obviously a jaded person, but it does bring up a lot of things that people were concerned about, which is, you know, people live there, they have friends, they stay there, the kind of residents that are there, including drug and police presence because of the residents that are there. Again, not trying to beat a dead horse here, just doing what they advised us to do, which was compare and research into Riley Brook. And this is a comment that exists and that's there because it's a concern that someone's having.
Sorry.
Well,
yeah, we're competing.
Yeah.
So, with all due respect to the good people at the water department, and I've had a lot of good contact with them, it's not a problem, but they may not realize the water pressure is bad in Sanborn because we're used to it. We don't complain anymore because we just get used to it. We know we can only shower one at a time, that you can't run your laundry and shower at the same time, or if it's a hot day, your water pressure is 0 because people are watering their grass or they're pumping their garden. It's not good. It's not your fault. It's just what it is. But it's not good. Okay. Their statement that they would have a booster pump in case of an emergency, and remember that was for an emergency, not everyday use. So their booster pump, when needed for an emergency, is going to literally not add more water from the river. It's going to suck all the water that's in the area to that spot. So there'll be no other water to get to. They're going to be drawing it hard and fast up into their building. And there was another thing. I can't help you. Bus station, the bus stop is right there across the street from West Street School. Think about this for 1 minute. You've got kids outside playing. Overworked teachers, or overwhelmed teachers by the number of kids they have to watch, and a bus stop across the street. Anybody can get off the bus, and anyone can get back on again. And those kids are within 40 feet of that facility. It's scary to think what could happen even one time to an elementary school kid that is quite literally within a stone's throw of that bus. I'm sorry, it scares the jeepers out of me. I can't even imagine what they'll be. I know it's a coincidence. It may not be fair to mention, but the owner's son sold his house, which was facing that property, just a few months ago, and he's gone. If that's not a little bit unsettling too, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you.
I'd like to. Craig Road, 5687 Bridgman Road. I was just taking a couple notes. I was just curious. Do we think annual inspections are enough? Like once a year, they're going to send somebody out to inspect this place to see if there's any problems? He did say annual inspections. The two people that are going to be working there from 8 to 5, what are their qualifications? Are these just going to be kids? Are they going to be students? Are they going to be bums? I don't know. I'd like to know who's going to be watching over these places. He did also say that the fire chief had no concerns. We already heard from our fire chief. He said that before he arrived. Also, the sewer tie-in. He mentioned county. Are they tying to the county sewer system or to the town sewer system? If they're tying into the county sewer system, our line only goes about a third of the way down West Street from the library, from the south, heading north. So if they're tying to the county sewer system, are they going to dig up all West Street to tie into there? I'm kind of curious about that too.
Town line goes all the way to 31.
What's that?
The gravity town line goes all the way to 31 down.
I have the map on my phone.
I put it in, I know it.
Yeah, it goes all the way
Town puts
to,
it in there.
okay, I have the map on there with the manholes.
Yeah.
It goes all the way to the, past
Goes
the
to
library to the first street, and then it makes a right and
Yeah,
our
well, it
manholes
comes all
stop
the way
there.
down West Street.
They're gonna
Down
tie
middle
into
of
the,
road. It's already there, the gravity.
I think that's the town of Lewiston line.
That's what I'm telling you.
I'm talking about the county line
Well,
that
that-
goes to Liberty Drive in Niagara
The
Falls.
town line goes into the county line. That's where it deposits into the town. The town line goes into the county line.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
That's what
Some
I'm
of them go down below the
I'm
hill, and some
telling
of
you,
them
we
go
put it
to
in
us.
there.
Okay, well, my concern is, are they gonna have to dig up West Street?
No, it's already.
Okay, okay. They also said that they're very selective in the process when they do rent these units. From what I gather, this is kind of New York State taxpayer funded. I guess they're probably getting tax breaks and funding from us citizens to build these places too. So they really can't really be selective on who they rent these places to. I mean, it's discrimination. They can't. They already said that they have to take Section 8 if people apply. You can't just tell people that they can't have a place because you don't think that they're going to take care of it or whatnot. I mean, you can't do that. We know that. We know that. We're not stupid. I'd also like to know if they've ever sold any of their units before. I mean, they say they're kind of a newer company and they like to stick around and they're in it for the long haul. I'm just curious. They said they bought some units. I'm curious if they've sold some units too. And as far as Hamburg, them saying that Hamburg residents are the ones that took up and are staying in those places. Like we've heard, there's 60,000 people in Hamburg. So of course, Hamburg people, residents, rented those places. We have 1,400 people in our town. Sanborn residents aren't going to rent these places. They're going to come from outside the city and whatnot. They're going to rent these places. And I was curious on who's going to service this booster pump when it's put in. Is the town of Lewiston going to have to service this, and install this? And Croning's Garage also, I was wondering, I've heard rumors that Croning's Garage is not going to be touched, that it's going to stay there, and they're maybe put a right of way on one side of it and then the entrance on the other way. I was just curious why. Wow. I don't know if that's true or not. I just heard that. I don't know why it wouldn't be tore down. Is there, if it's going to stay, is there a reason that it's staying? Well, that's what I mean. Is it because they don't want to touch it? I'm not really sure. And I was curious also, somebody mentioned about fences, if there's going to be a fence around this place. I just didn't know what the zoning laws were for retention ponds and that with kids around and stuff like that. I mean, I have heard of, you got to put signs up or alarms on and whatnot, just so that there's, people aren't drowning in these things. And so, that's all I got.
Kevin Miller, 5781 West Street. I'm probably the youngest one here, I'm sure. And bought my house 4 years ago, and I totally opposed on this. Like my friend Craig was saying, I don't want to see the riprap around the neighborhood. I grew up in Sanborn my whole life. I'm 30 years old, and I don't want to see riprap go around the neighborhood, up and down the sidewalks, around town. I like the way the town is now. I think everybody else likes the way the town is. Yeah. I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And I think I like all went to a great guy, he's a good guy, but I wish he could go a different avenue with selling the property. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone's touched on it. My name's Tiffany Woods. I live on 5704 Town Line Road. I bought my house in 2009 to raise my family, my young family. I moved from Niagara Falls because it was becoming bad neighborhoods to Sanborn so that my kids could grow up well. My youngest is 15 now. My oldest is 22. Goes to UV. We've made a good life there. We all keep up on our houses. Our yards look good. It's a good community. There's accidents on the corner of 31 and Talamine multiple times a week, especially in the summertime. So having 31 more vehicles, how many more are we going to have? Because I know our firemen go to those accidents all the time. If you're only having people monitor the houses from 8 to 5, most domestic violences and everything happen after drinking, and it's normally after work hours. So who's going to answer those calls? The Lewiston police and our firemen. I just don't think that it is necessary to have that in Sanborn. I want my kids to stay in this neighborhood. And I think that this will run a lot of good people out, you know, and I'm not okay with it. At all.
Anyone else in the audience care to speak? Okay. All right, we've been going for a long time, so I'm going to take a 2-minute break, let the developer come up with the responses, and then we'll let them speak and answer your questions and concerns. Okay? So, 2 minutes if you want.
You're gonna have some kids. You're gonna drink. I should have said something. That's what you're gonna tell me. You're gonna drink it. That's my thing. It's gonna be less and less. You know, it's not right.
Buses go before the entrance change and they go
Well, I want to know, are you going to live on site, are you going to live in Sanborn, are you going to live in Buffalo, Yes, now that, and also, do they work directly for the system, or are they going to be a contract on management agency? Kim and Steve are getting fired on them all the time.
How are you? I know you.
We have that exactly one of the problems.
They're not looking at you.
Barely alive.
Depends though. Sometimes our water's like really low, like trickle.
Well, you know, you get the button where you can change it between spray and regular. There wasn't enough pressure. So we had to try to get the 5 ones with
Everyone, give me some ideas. We're gonna have the developer come back and respond to, concerns and questions, if you would, sir.
Yeah, there was a lot there. What I'd like to do is just reiterate, I'm gonna have Cole talk through some of the technical items from a site plan and zoning standpoint, but we are in the general business district. This is a permitted use. We are meeting the town of Lewiston's zoning code. We're not asking for any variances. I think on the social issues, at the end of the day, this is really a well-managed product, and it is a project that we have managed before and have been very successful. I think from a staffing standpoint, we're overstaffed here. Typically properties with 100 units have 2 full-time staff. That is the industry standard. And we've committed to 2 full-time staff here. On our other properties that are 75 to 100 units, it's typically 2 full-time staff. We maintain these properties, they are well kept. We're using Riley Brook as an example because it is very similar in architectural design